fear through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jiggle my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello and welcome. This is the TJ is One of Us podcast. I am Scott here, and I've got together a special episode. I've got Andrew and Shane both on the line. Andrew, Shane, how you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Another good week so far. So excited to get back here. It's been a little while.
It has been a little while. It's been far too long, and we have a little announcement of that. But let's check in, make sure Shane's alive over there on the other line in Philly. I know it's a little late for you right now.
All good, man. All good. Nothing. Yeah, going back-to-back jobs, coming in here, doing a pod. The only thing that really matters today. So I saved all my energy for this, baby. Let's go.
There you go. And Shane has been saving up his energy for probably about a month at this point because we've taken quite the long break. But we're back, and we're not going anywhere. I know you guys thought you were getting rid of us in 2020, but you were wrong. So sit in and get excited to listen to us rant and rave. More rant about the how bad the Sixers have been lately, but we are taking the TJ is One of Us podcast out on its own. We're going to be branding it ourselves and seeing how this goes. The AMYP network that Shane created a while ago was great for us in the beginning, but we're kind of just going off on our own path here. Obviously, we're all still going to be heavily involved. You're not going to get any change in content. We might see some different stuff out there on Twitter. Maybe we'll come up with some different merch, or we'll come up with a couple different sponsors. We're looking for a shoe deal, which we'll get into later on the show. But so that's pretty much what's new for us in 2020 and what we've been working for in the last month. We're also working on getting a WordPress blog out there so you can, read the rantings of the Philadelphia Sixers fans and what our thoughts are on what's been going on in the Sixers universe. And so that stuff's all coming. We'll have a Twitter page up by the end of the week. We're still trying to lock in 2 shows a week. So from now on, get excited for it. And so let's now that we're done with kind of the administrative work, let's get into something fun and talk about the game last night. Andrew, you want to start us off with the game last night? Because I will admit I just caught the recap. I didn't watch it live, so I don't want to kick this one off. I feel like that's not fair to me.
Yeah, it's another odd game. I mean, similar to Saturday's game against the Mavericks, where the first half seemed great. It looked like everything you wanted, and you had and obviously Embiid's been out for the last couple games, and you bring in Al Horford in the offseason to kind of fill that role for him, and it kind of worked in the first half. And same thing with Simmons, where he gets off to a great start, and then in the second half, it looks like the Sixers just like they don't show up, and it seems like they kind of just see one play, and it seems like it kind of goes on a lot this season. You see one player kind of get going early on, and the other so-called quote-unquote stars that are struggling kind of take a back seat and let like Ben Simmons take over, and then when Simmons kind of starts to struggle throughout the game, all those guys that are already kind of laying off a little bit, they don't get anything going, and you see Harris go 1 for 5 from 3. You see Richardson go 1 for 8, which, I mean, Richardson's playing great. But, I mean, again, the shooting problem that this team has just been insane lately. But the second half collapse once again was just – I think it's a concern just because they struggle so much on the road, and that's what continues. And then the second half, it seems like they just lost their aggressiveness.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest problem we've been seeing it, and I think, we probably hit this on the head in the first 3 to 5 games of the year. The Sixers just continue to take time off in the game. I mean, they just don't show up in the third quarter. That seems to be the one they have the most trouble with. I don't know why that is. But goddamn it, Brett Brown needs to do something to rally the troops here and get them to learn to play in the third quarter. I don't know how you fix this problem.
And I think that's one of the biggest things. I mean, I like Brett Brown as a coach, but if you continue to lose the third quarter, as you just said, that partially goes on coaching, in my opinion, because that's the other team making a lot more adjustments at halftime rather than your team doing doing much at halftime. And if it continues, I think that would be a question a lot of people have.
I think it's kind of been, look, Brett Brown has been handed how many different rosters at this point in the last several years. I don't know that there's ever been an identity that made sense from this is how the roster's constructed. This is how Brett Brown likes to coach. This is how his players like to play. I feel like they're reading 3 different books, 3 different manuscripts on how to be a successful basketball team. And when you have 3 different versions of that coming out, you get the freaking 76ers right now. They just don't gel. I think one of the biggest things is we've all kind of said this, and it's kind of been the thing around the NBA. It's like, well, we can kind of coast through the regular season, right? The playoffs are where things matter, and it's kind of old hat at this point. Everyone understands that. And I think that they've been trying so hard to prove that they can shoot the basketball when they absolutely cannot. And like at a certain point, what are we, like 41 games in, 42 games into the season so far? The shit is not working. After 41 games, I think you can stop telling your non-3-point shooting basketball team to chuck up more threes. Like that, you may just want to stop. Start playing to the strengths. Go very Bill Belichick-like. Bill Belichick gets players that can't succeed fucking anywhere else in the NFL. He gets every white guy on the planet and says, here, put on a Pats uniform. You're going to be successful this year. And he makes it work. I don't know how he does it, but he does. That's kind of what we need from Brett Brown. Like at a certain point, we're built in a style and era of basketball that doesn't exist anymore. You're going to have to genuinely make your opposition play your game. And they just haven't decided to do that this year.
I think they need to go on. Have you ever seen the Blue Mountain State Vision Quest episode? Excuse me. So in the Blue Mountain State Vision Quest episode, it's when the Blue Mountain State Goats, they go on a losing streak and they all get locked in the house and they're all given a different drug and they just trip out together and have a spiritual experience. I think over the All-Star break, that's what the Sixers need to do. They need to not go to the game and they need to hang out together, do something crazy like that, and try to change their mindset just so they can gel, because something is not working. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, they can't shoot. They were playing great defense. They're not playing as good a defense anymore. I mean, they're missing a quarter here every single game. Something is wrong. I don't want to point the finger at my boy Brett Brown, but like all fingers are pointing to Brett Brown right now.
And I think one of the big things is, I think, again, I know Embiid's out, but I think I think the depth that the team has, I think we kind of maybe overshot it a little bit.
In Philadelphia, you think?
Maybe we've done that once or twice before, but another thing is with Matisse Thybulle going down a little bit a couple weeks ago. I mean, that clearly hurt them a little bit, and once he went down, it seemed like it was all falling apart even a little more than it was before. And now that he's back, he's still kind of trying to get that feel for his game a little bit. But I mean, it's a mess all over. And again, like as you mentioned earlier, Shane, teams like the coast towards the playoffs. Well, the issue with this team is if you don't get a high enough seed with how much we struggle on the road, it's going to come back and hurt us.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think that this is not like at a certain point. I think Scott, I think you and I were talking about this on Crossing Borders with Connor. Shameless plugging here. But after a while, like Brett Brown, we're all three of us are Brett Brown guys. But at a certain point, like even we can sit here and say, like, maybe this marriage has kind of run its course. Managers like him and coaches like him, the shelf life's kind of short. It's very like Laviolette-esque. It's just, all right, we're going to get 4 or 5 years out of this guy. And then all of a sudden, if he can't get something out of you, he's just not going to. And right now, we've seen superstars across the league take that leap from like star, kind of like budding superstar to legitimate superstar in that year 4 and 5. And like the same things that are wrong with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and the same unwillingness and the same mental lapses that they have, it's been there all 4 years. And if Brett Brown, as much as we like him, can't fix that, can't pull another level out of these guys, they're just going to be very good complementary stars on a team. And we have no assets remaining. We're going to have to get so fucking lucky in like a pick 20 somewhere in the next 2-3 years. and just hope to God that the superstar's here. Or, I don't know, play Zaire.
Yeah. Shameless plug for our seventh best player in the NBA, Zaire Smith. We're not losing that shtick on the newly branded TJ is One of Us podcast. So I think as much as we don't want to talk about it, we've hit a point in the year where it looks like Brett Brown is the problem. Do you think we could bring in a coach? I mean, granted, we're halfway through the year, right? We could be, all laughing about this in a couple months when the Sixers just win the championship. And, we're like, oh, remember when we almost lost faith in Brett Brown? And I hope that's the case. What kind of coach do you think we need?
Andrew, want me to take it or you want it?
I guess I could start. I'd say I don't think there's room I don't think a new coach would do too much at this point. I mean, like you said, we're halfway through the season. So I think at this point you just kind of got to ride it out or stick with it. But I think if anything, it'd be a coach that kind of can motivate his players, because I think that's one of the biggest issues here is they don't seem motivated at times. And like we've already said in this podcast that at times in the game they just seem like they take plays off and take a lot of minutes off, and that's where we see kind of things take a turn in games. Or so a coach that can keep the motivation high, that runs through halftime and gets off to faster starts and kind of makes, I guess, a little more adjustments. But again, at this point in the season, I think you kind of just got to stick with what you have, and if it doesn't work out, you make the change in the offseason.
I completely agree. Brett Brown is on. I mean, he's on the hot seat. His chair is burning. His ass is black right now. I mean, he's been feeling it for the last couple of years, and it has never been hotter than right now. So we're riding and dying with him, and this season will be entirely on his hands. I agree. I think we need. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so you're going to be hearing some annoying coughing and grunting and stuff like that. So I apologize going forward. But I think we need I can't think of a better prototype than like a Bobby Knight, a guy that the players are scared of to the point of respect almost. Now, obviously in the NBA, something like that doesn't exist, right? Because they're not 18, 19-year-old little boys. But you need someone that commands respect in the Sixers locker room. And I think they respect Brett Brown, but more almost as like a friend and a colleague than as an authority figure. And I think it's up to him to figure out a way to be the guy that gets in there, yells at them all, and they're scared to not play their hardest because they don't want to go back to the bench when he pulls them out and chews them out. Like, I don't think that's in his personality, but he needs to figure something out there. And if he doesn't, then we're going to bring someone in at the end of the year who will.
I don't know, man. I think Elton Brand's been tripping over his dick for the last decade and falling into higher and higher roles in this organization. It wouldn't shock me if he's suddenly just owning the 76ers GM, assistant to the GM. And sure, why the hell not? The next Brett Brown. Like, I don't know
Jackie Moon player coach, too.
That's exactly.
Throw him back out there.
Sure, why not? I mean, he was an ambassador to Ja, and Ja's an MVP now. So this is kind of destiny if you're Elton Brand and a Philadelphia 76ers fan. But no, you guys hit it on the head. I mean, honestly, like Brett Brown is the coach and he's the guy for this year. Scott, you've been saying it since you came onto the show that this year is pretty much get to the finals or bust for him personally. But I genuinely, like, there is a flat out unwillingness, and to me that's a lack of respect. Like, I have no fear for the repercussions of my actions on the basketball court or lack thereof. And especially with a Ben Simmons. And I don't want this misconstrued. I love Ben Simmons. I think he will be a superstar one day. I do not know if that will be in Philadelphia. I do not know if that will be under Brett Brown or not. But Brett Brown comes out several weeks ago, and we talked about this before too on this show or another. He says, tell everyone, I want at least 1 3 a game, right? And he hasn't shot one since. And to me, like that's Ben Simmons just being, you know what, fuck you, man. I signed my max extension after the rookie contract. I'm good here, man. Like, I'm an all-star. I'm good, which he will not be this year. So, but it's at a certain point that voice kind of grows stale. And I don't think, Scott, to your point, like that, these guys don't have anything to fear in Brett Brown. And I think that it's just when you have that kind of relationship for that many years, It's like Pop. I don't know how the hell Pop does it. I mean, he's hilarious, and he's cutthroat, and he's dry, but they always seem to get up for him. They always seem to play. Brett Brown just does not have that other level and switch, so it's weird.
And it really is a shame because Brett Brown is he's gotten good at the media part of things. He's gotten good at stuff in the front office. He presents himself well as a coach. I just don't know why he doesn't seem to be clicking with these guys. I would go play for Brett Brown right now. I mean, I'm ready to join the Army. Like, he's won me over, but you can't really win with 5'7" white guys out there on the court, no matter how good I was at shooting when I was 8. Like,
well, TJ,
that's not how this works. Yeah, that's true. Like, but yeah, I don't know what his plan is going forward. I have to hope that Brett Brown goes home every night and, sits there, pours himself a drink because he's an Irish guy, and, he's sitting there and he's looking over game tape. He's just thinking about some way to scare the guys or to get their respect or some gimmicky thing. That's the only option at this point, because if he doesn't fix it, I
could bring out the curveball machine. Maybe get a bamboo plant.
Yeah.
You never know.
Anything at this point.
Seriously, like just about anything. I mean, I think Shane, to your point, the Ben Simmons thing, like, he publicly went out and said, I need him to shoot 1-3 a game. And Ben said, no, I'm good. That's similar to, like, going into work and your boss being like, hey man, you showed up 10 minutes late today. Don't do that again. And then the next day you show up 15 minutes late and he doesn't do anything about it. You're not going to have good employees, aka players in the NBA's sake, if you don't have repercussions to
property.
Exactly.
Let's call them property.
Whoa,
if they get to be called governors now, I like to just tilt that scale a little further. They're property.
I'm going to stick with the word assets here. But,
assets is much better. I like that.
Yeah.
And first of all, in our first episode, if I've just lost everyone because it's 2020 and everyone's sensitive as shit, I was the joking, just clarifying.
Well, the years turned over, right? 2019 was the year of sensitivity. Is 2020 the year things get back on track?
I hope so, man.
Political correctness goes away, and we get rid of this stupid governor's word. Which, Andrew, I don't know if we've had you in on something like this quite yet, but the fact that owners in the NBA are called governors is so ridiculous, because it's similar to someone. If you ever met one of those annoying people that doesn't curse and they go, oh, you're being such a B word right now. And all that does is make you think B word. Oh, bitch. Okay. And they make you say it. You are the bad guy. So all the NBA is doing right now is making me feel like a huge racist because I'm like, governors, that sounds old timey. In what kind of organization did old rich white men work with black? Oh my God, they're talking about slavery. The NBA is about slavery. Oh my God, like, racism is alive in 2020. This is crazy. Like, and I'm a pretty liberal guy.
Nobody was thinking about it that way. Exactly. No one.
No one. And it's a problem. I will not stand for it. But anyway, I digress. Back to Brett Brown and problems our Sixers are having. Brett Brown is an issue. It's an ongoing thing. I think he needs to do something to make a statement, whether that's demanding Ben Simmons shoots a 3 in a game and sitting him the next game to prove a point. I think that would earn a lot of respect in my book. I don't want to see Ben on the sideline ever, but hey, you don't listen to your coach, you got to show some respect. Sorry, if you don't listen, you're going to suffer as a player, and your brand will suffer it, because I don't know how else you hurt him. Like, I don't know.
And that's the thing. I mean, the only way to send a message is to do something about it, like you said. And I know it's not the same exact comparison, but kind of in like baseball, if you don't run out of ball and you don't show the extra effort and hustle, everyone says the coach should go out and bench that guy. Well, it kind of goes the same way, just because, I mean, again, that's kind of not listening to what your kind of philosophy is of running out plays and stuff. So again, to me, just going against what the coach is saying, especially when he says it in public, it's not like he just told you at practice where, oh, I want to see you shoot one a game. He's like, he even said we need him to shoot one to the media. Plus, I think I've even seen Embiid say before, like, Simmons needs to start
Oh,
shooting. And, like, the fact that even players are commenting on now, like, once it gets to the players saying stuff, that again, is the next level where you need to, like, I don't know, again, I don't know if it's something mentally with Simmons where he's afraid to shoot it, if he doesn't trust himself, but whatever it is, it
I
needs
genuinely
to be.
think he doesn't think he has to. Like, his mindset and approach is, I mean, and he's basically said it in these various interviews and media sessions and post games where he's like, I'm 6'11", I'm faster, I'm stronger, and I'm more athletic, and I play great defense. Like, I don't have to shoot the basketball. Like, fucking yeah, you do, man. Like, do you not see everyone collapse inside? Like, you watch film. They make you watch film. How do you not see exactly what they're doing? It's mind-boggling to me. I think personally Brett Brown should go all Shane Mead coaching style. So I had coached these kids for I don't know, 8-10 years, and like I was definitely that guy. Like, I was a young guy coaching other young men, and like I was probably more friendly with them than like mentoring, coaching. And while I taught them a lot, it was a loose relationship. And like by those later years when like they just kind of stopped getting better because they stopped caring, because they weren't really afraid of me, man, I did not give a shit what I was saying out there on the field. I would embarrass the fuck out of these kids mid-game, in front of their parents, in front of the other teams. Wouldn't care if they cried, didn't care if they laughed, they pissed them. I don't give a shit. Like, I just want Brett Brown just being like, shoot the fucking ball on the side with his Australian accent. It'd be awesome. Like, I could totally see like section like 111 right behind the benches right there, just totally getting behind him. And like Brett Brown rallying like TJ would, an entire section getting Ben Simmons to shoot a fucking basketball. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe right to him being fired, but I think it'd be amazing.
The irony to all this is I think I was the last person in Philadelphia that was okay with Ben Simmons not shooting the basketball. And now it's the only thing I ever wanted him to do. I've done a complete 180 on this. Since it was publicly stated he needs to shoot the basketball, you got to show some respect to Brett Brown. So let's move on a little bit past bashing Brett Brown here, because we could talk about that endlessly, and I'm sure we all will, whether it's on the show or not. But let's switch into Al Horford a little bit here. I don't want to hit another negative, but let's get a little bit lower before we get higher here. Al Horford has not performed up to what I expected from him. I'm sure you guys are on the same page with that. It's been a weird issue. He's never played like this in his career. I don't know if it's something wrong with him physically. I don't know if it's something wrong with him not fitting into the scheme, but there's something off about him, and I think that is actually as big of an issue as Brett Brown not fitting into the mold right now as well.
It's Joel Embiid. You see his numbers with Joe off the court? Yeah. He's averaging, per 36 minutes, he's averaging, I think, 19.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. Like, he's a totally different player when he's playing the position that he says he doesn't really want to play. You know, he considers himself more of a 4 than a 5. He's a fucking 5. Like, that's just kind of what he is. But yeah, I think that this is it's a scenario that he's probably never had to play in. Like, I've always wondered that. Like, you remember back with Gasol and Bynum in LA, mm-hmm. and how awkward that was with the Twin Towers out there, or whatever the hell they were calling them. Like, they eventually learned how to do it, and I think they learned how to do it because Powell truly is like he can run that 4, and he did have range where Bynum just could be a natural 5, and they just kind of, this all worked out. But in this new basketball where Al Horford and Joel Embiid can both play inside and outside, like, I just don't think that there's ever a moment where they gel. And I don't really think that they were ever designed to. Like, I feel like this whole thing was, we can have a really, really good backup center, or manage Joel Embiid's minutes more this year and over the next couple years of this contract, because we have a guy like Al Horford, and then when we have to play them in the playoffs, we'll hope it works out. Shit's not working out. I will say, like, I'm not happy, obviously, that Joe had the unfortunate injury, but I do think this could be the period of time that gets Al Horford kind of back in gear and more consistent. And then when Joe comes back, not that it's worked out so far to keep asking Joe to be the guy to bend, but maybe ask Joe to be the guy to bend and say, hey, we're going to need you to compliment Al a little bit here. And I know that's not the sexiest of things because obviously Joe's your superstar, but for the betterment of the team, like as a whole, you might have to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, go for it, Andrew.
I agree with everything you were saying and stuff and I think the big thing with them is, like you said, they're not gelling together. I think it's because they're trying to play the same exact position. They're both trying to play a position where they're going to both stretch the floor. And while you can't have both, like one of them's got to, like you said, one of them's got to give it up and one of them's got to go inside and play the post and where they're supposed to play. And I think that's the big thing. And I mean, I know we don't want to rip on Brown too much, but I think that's part on coaching as well too. Is you kind of, I guess all you can do is tell them that. And if they don't listen to them, like Simmons isn't listening, that just creates a bigger issue. But you got to design plays or something to keep one of them down inside the post just to keep things mixed in there. Well, because I mean, I think they're both averaging around 5 to 6 3 or around that number. Is they both try to take 4 or 5 threes a game, and that's just too much for both of them to be taking. You don't want that many from your 4 or 5 position.
Yeah, I agree, and that's actually what I was going to kind of get into, Andrew. That actually worked out as a perfect transition here. I think they need to definitely split up their time, and they need to go back to what they were doing at the beginning of the year. Because whatever we were doing at the beginning of the year was obviously working. We were all singing the praises of the Philadelphia 76ers. Brett Brown was a genius back then. Al Horford was the greatest thing we ever picked up. It was uncomfortable seeing him in a Sixers jersey, but we got over it because we were winning basketball games. The fact that they're both now taking on the unfortunate role that we used to make or yell at Joel Embiid for and not staying under the basket is just making the problem twice as bad. We can't have a center that has to shoot the ball and then rebound for himself and then run back down the other end of the court. It's not how basketball should work. It's not how modern basketball works or old basketball. No one has ever tried playing this style of basketball. And on top of that, the sabermetrics behind it all, if sabermetrics is even the right word, but I guess we should probably just be saying analytics instead. But the analytics do not back up what they're doing. So Brett Brown needs to look at that and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to either just split up you guys and you're not going to play together, except in crunch time when we need to figure it out and just have you both on the court. But even then, I'm going to switch in defense, offense, do something with it. But you both need to keep your ass under the basket. Joel, stop shooting 5 threes a game. It's way too many. I don't even care if you make 5 in a night. That's wrong. Stop doing it. None of us are benefiting from it. You need to get your ass under the basket. You're 7 feet tall and you're stronger than everyone in the world. Just stay down there. Al Horford, you know what you're doing. I can't talk to you because you're basically older than me and your dad to everyone on the court. So do whatever you want, but if you would stay under the basket, that would be great too.
And yeah. I think what they have to do is, like Shane, you said earlier, was just play to your strengths. I think that's something they got away with. I think they're all trying to, as you said, make too many threes and just get. I think that's what they didn't do in the beginning of the year was they didn't shoot as many threes. They played to their strengths, let the deep shots open up, and they stayed aggressive. And that's just something they've lacked recently, in my opinion.
Like the blueprint to this team, while 100% not sexy, it should work in today's NBA. Like with as easily as fouls are called for fucking everything, what the Sixers or how the Sixers were built and constructed by Elton Brand and Brett Brown, this should work. All they truly need to do is to be very communicative within their systems together on the floor, play lockdown defense like they do, and rebound the fucking basketball. Like rebound the basketball, and which they have more size and length than anyone in the NBA. That shouldn't be a problem. Play lockdown, shutdown defense with the 5 names that are out there, and Tobias I'm including in that, who has been much better defensively than I anticipated. That should be natural. And then get to the fucking line. If you're not going to shoot, I don't know, if you're not going to shoot 36% from three every night, 40% from three every night, fucking stop. Just drive to the basket, get their stars in foul trouble, get their role players in foul trouble. That's the blueprint. Like, is it sexy? No. Are you going to win some 88 to 81 games in 2020? Probably. But does it matter? Not a damn bit. Win basketball games by the style that you built your team to. Stop trying to make guys fit a mold of today's NBA if they fucking don't. We're a team of misfits together. We might fit very well in other organizations and systems, but together, nothing makes sense. And in a weird way, that kind of makes sense if they just stuck to the plan that they came in with.
Yeah, and to your point, like, that they kept being aggressive and getting to the line. The Sixers are 23rd in free throw attempts per game at only 21. So when you have that much talent, that's the way you're going to build your team. Take advantage of that. And if you look at the top teams, I mean, I know James Harden's a big part of it, but 1, 2 are the Rockets, Clippers, and then the 3 are Heat, which obviously those 3 teams have great records. And then the Timberwolves are kind of the misfire in this, but then the Bucks are at 5. So like 4 of those 5 teams are legit contenders, and they're getting to the line the most in the league. So like that seems to be the way to go now, and that's the way you build your team. But if you don't take advantage of it, what's the point of it?
It is. And Joel Embiid, his fat ass, he could sit there and breathe 40 times a night because you're getting to the line that damn much. He can sit there and awkwardly pick his wedgie if he's still doing that. I actually haven't noticed that. Is he still doing that? Anybody know?
I don't know, but I'm going to be staring at nothing but that for the next 5 games. Thanks, Shane.
Anyway, that's all I'm going to see now.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But like, look, it breaks up. It makes the game incredibly choppy, which obviously not super ideal. Like, another thing that blows my mind while in terms of choppiness and the way that this game is kind of played now for the 76ers is they have no half-court offense, and that's like fucking incredibly alarming, and they cannot rebound a basketball. So like I listened to Spike and Mike's pod, and I'm pissed that I did, because then I went back and I started just rewatching highlights and different clips and different things over the last 15, 20 games, like watching the condensed versions of games. And I swear to God that there's a middle level of like rebounding area that they consistently leave open. It's like 2 bigs like crash right underneath the net, and then like Ben Simmons is like, okay, I fucking guess I'll crash under the net too. And then the guards just chill out behind the 3-point line, just like waiting it out. And I'm like, well, that's a lot of ground that you're just leaving wide open for second chance points. And inevitably, these longer, heavy shots go off the back of the iron and come back out to that middle section. Never, ever get a fast break opportunity. Not never. That's wrong, but still. Blows my damn mind. I have so much wrong with this team right now. Like, I don't think there's any sense coming out of like what I'm saying, but I'm so angry.
You know who can fix this rebounding problem? I'm going to give you a hint. It's probably my favorite player on the Sixers right now.
Norvel.
The swell himself. Oh, yeah. All that guy does is push the throttle and run like a 2-year-old that just ate a chocolate bar. Like, that guy, he will suck up every rebound in the world. Not really, though. Please just limit his minutes and keep it to a gimmick, because, you know, we need to win basketball games now.
Well, they have
we've
to limit
already
his minutes
lost
because he fouls he's like Jonah Bolden.
Yeah.
Fouls every single time he's on the court. Him and Thibault lately.
I wouldn't want it any other way. He is always entertaining when he's out there, and that's been one of the lone bright things with Joel's injury. Aside from, you know, what Shannon mentioned before, that maybe the rest of the team will gel a little bit. Maybe Al Horford will just, you know, start his game back.
We should totally get more Kyle O'Quinn.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if nothing else, for him offering that biscuit and to Ennis just randomly being like, yeah, I'll take a bite. Like, that was one of the funniest videos I have ever seen. Like, Scott, for you sitting here saying that you wanted in 2020 the Sixers to learn social media, well, they're ahead of you, my friend. They had a KFC biscuit video, or Popeye's biscuit, whatever it was. It was amazing.
Hold on. Maybe the problem, because every time we seem to voice something on the pod, the Sixers do it. So maybe the problem isn't the Sixers. It's the fact that I've been lazy and I have not been pushing us to record. We might be recording 7 nights a week now if this is what it takes for the Sixers to win. So
That's
I don't
cool.
know if you guys are on board for it. We might be getting me doing some solo maniacal pods at like 3 a.m. when you
Dude,
can't sleep. And
I had to do that all throughout the postseason last year when I lost my co-host Kev when he went on to go do his movie reviews. Which, by the way, definitely go check out his site. I have no fucking idea what it is right now. Off the top of my head, I should, but I'm a terrible friend. But yeah, man, Scott, it's awkward when you're like in your basement at 3 o'clock in the morning, just like you said, talking to yourself about the 76ers. Weird as hell.
that I think only Bill Burr can do the solo pod. So maybe we'll get down that at some point in 2020. We'll put it on the to-do list. But right now I've got you guys, to reel me back in and keep me from just ranting for 45 minutes straight. So we're gonna stick with the formula that works for a little bit. But hey, we'll have that to look forward to. And I'm sure nobody is looking forward to me doing one alone. So we'll see how that goes.
I don't know. Mine got pretty well reviewed.
All right, well, fuck it. We'll get into that too. So we've been pretty negative with the Sixers, but let's talk about the lone bright spot that's come out. He had a great fourth quarter last night. Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson is unbelievable. He is the Energizer Bunny. He plays endless minutes, just always seems to be out there. And he has been a breath of fresh air now that he's seemed to figure the system out a little bit more. He was Player of the Week or Player of the Month in the NBA?
Player of the Week.
Player of the Week. I was trying to make the honor bigger than it was, so we'll just name him the Player of the Month already.
Oh, he's the Player of the Year then.
Yeah, TJ's one of us has named him Player of the Year. Congrats, Josh Richardson. You just have to come to Newport Beach, and I'll give you your $5 Starbucks gift card because that's all we can afford at this point. But I will give that to you if you come hang out with me. So, but yeah, Josh Richardson has been awesome lately, and we're not the only ones noticing it. The rest of the league is noticing how good he is, and it is making it a little bit easier to swallow the fact that Jimmy Butler, crap, I wasn't supposed to say his name. We're not supposed to talk about him anymore, but he's having an MVP caliber season somehow in Miami. So Josh Richardson has made this somewhat worthwhile now. I love seeing him out there. He's been my favorite part of watching the Sixers for the last couple weeks, and it's weird saying that because his name is not Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons.
Yeah, man. I think it's only natural for Philadelphia people to sit here and gravitate towards athletes who just are kind of embodiments of the city. And I mean, that's kind of what Josh Richardson is. Out there, he's gritty. He plays his ass off on defense. He's so quick to fill lanes, and he just has such good deflections, or deflective hands, whatever you want to call them. And then lately, like for a guy who definitely didn't look like he knew how to shoot a basketball to start the year, he's kind of the only guy who can shoot on this team right now after a pretty long hot stretch from Toby. I think that's just kind of going to be what the contract of Tobias Harris is: 15 games on, 15 games off. But yeah, he's a breath of fresh air, man. He is a ton of fun.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the money. I think that's the big thing with him, as we mentioned, players taking a lot of different plays off and stuff. And he's the one guy that he'll never take a play off, whether it's he turns the ball over and goes back and blocks a shot, or if he blocks the shot and runs down and beats everybody back down and finishes a layup or something. I mean, he's always going at it, and like you said, the improvement he has, and I think that's another great sign. And he's willing to do anything it takes to try to get this team to win. And I think he kind of knew what he was getting into. I mean, getting traded for a guy like that, and I think that in a way kind of helped him, and he saw the love that Butler got, and I think it kind of, I mean, he always had that hustle, but I think that kind of got him to see where he was going and kind of keeps it motivated.
Yeah, I would say he has adapted to the city of Philadelphia about as good as one can. So good on you, Josh Richardson. But let's not forget about all the holes we just talked about, because we're about to get into some trade talk here. We're midway through the year. So trade talk is in full swing, and we were talking a little bit before the pod. This is the best time of year. We all love it. So we have been reading, every article out there, pulling out the trade machine, trying to make something crazy. And Unfortunately, the Sixers don't have a ton of cap room, so we're gonna have to move an asset, and not property, as Shane would probably call it, but we're gonna have to move an asset if we don't like the team that we have right now.
Or the buyout market.
Exactly, the buyout market is in full effect as well. But we will see what the Sixers can do. I pulled the number up. It's $4.4 million that we have left to play around with. There are a couple of bigger names out there, but I'm going to kick it to Andrew here and see what he thinks, if anything, the Sixers should do here. And then we'll just talk about some general trade talk, because it's kind of fun to get into what the rest of the NBA is going to look like over the next couple weeks.
I think a big thing, I think a couple guys that, obviously we've talked about it. Shooting is your biggest issue, and you're going to need it. The shooting's going to come off the bench, so I think if you could, it's going to cost probably a good amount, and again, like you said, the salary is going to be the toughest part about it, trying to mix that in with what you already have. But if you find a way to bring in a guy like JJ Redick, I know his contract's big, but if you can bring him back, he's shooting. You don't think so?
No, I'm done with him. I like JJ Redick, and had he signed here, I'd have been okay with it. But it's one of those things that, like, you ever have that ex-girlfriend that, like, you're like, damn, I really wish that we, like, really stuck through this and gave this a go, and then they left, and you were like, pretty okay with that. I'm pretty fucking okay without JJ Redick. At his dollar, I should say.
I get at the price, but if you could find a way to get them maybe to eat some of his money or something. I think he's just shooting so well this year. If you can get him to bring off the bench, it shouldn't be too much. Too much on him in terms of, like, his defensive liability won't be too much of an issue. He's shooting 46%, I think, last time I saw when I was looking at his stats from three. So I think he's having one of his best careers, and it seems as he gets older, he just continues to get better. And then I'd say another young guy. I don't know how it'd work, but Luke Kennard would be another guy I'd try to go get.
That's a good name. I like that you're throwing that out there. I'm not sure what his contract looks like right now, but that would be a name that the Sixers or that Elton Brand should be focusing on, I think, as well.
And then, I know some rumors have swirled about Robert Covington too. I don't think that.
Yeah, that was mine.
I don't know if that'd be the biggest name for fans. I don't know how much love that would get, but
biggest name for me, man.
I would not mind it either. I've always been a Covington fan, especially I think he always fits a bench role the best. So I think if you keep him in that bench role and not have him be the focus kind of starter as the Sixers had him be for a little bit, I think him coming off the bench would be good.
You kidding me, man? That Tom Thibodeau-esque guy over there right now, he's ready to play 44 minutes a night for you. He is. I love Robert Covington, and I always have. I understood the frustrations people have with him. But he is 100% what. First of all, have you guys ever looked at the actual, like, win-loss projections and the offensive ratings and defensive ratings from last year, the start of the year, with our previous, like, core intact, right? So with Dario, with Rocco, and even with Fultz coming off the bench, compared to, like, what this team is now, like this super team that we kind of built here, it is way better last year than it was this year. And to me, that is a guy who fits this NBA, who fits this team, and I think it would do a hell of a lot of good. The problem is, I really don't know what financially makes sense to do it. I think his contract, what is he, $15 million a year over the next two more?
I think it's 11 or 12, something like that.
That sounds right.
He has a very favorable contract. That's part of the reason why it's so hard to get him.
Exactly, and we don't have enough draft assets to make that work. Like, we could possibly entice someone with that OKC pick if OKC somehow, if the pick actually ends up turning out. I don't really know that it will. But Rocco would be, like, my hands down number one target. And I think that you could entice them with a Zaire, possibly a Matisse. I think if you move Matisse, like, you're kind of committing to Covington for a long haul there, beyond just this contract, because they're very similar. in what they're going to do. Freakishly athletic, very long, great defensively, and one of them can shoot threes, and the other one is Matisse Thybulle. But that would be my guy. And then the other thing would just be the buyout market, and then every Detroit Piston ever. That team right now with Griffin down, they're going to be selling, and I think that you'll be able to kind of play the margins, so to speak, there with some of their guys. So that's a team for me to kind of keep a lookout on.
I'm looking back through my notes here, and I keep like giggling in my head over this, so I have to just say it. When I was writing them, I said Rocco is a no for me, which is just that was probably the best thing I did that day. It was probably like 9 o'clock, and I was like, I'm not answering emails anymore. I wrote this beautiful sentence like everyone should just know how good I am. So I laughed way too hard at that. He's a no for me because his 3-point numbers are down. That's what we need. And because we're going to have to give up a pretty significant piece, I don't see how they can keep the full starting 5 together and land Robert Covington. I'm not ready to give up on the starting 5 quite yet. However, I do like the fact that you both brought up Detroit Pistons. I agree. I think that's a good avenue to go down. And weirdly enough, so this is counterintuitive because he's not a shooter, I think Derrick Rose would fit in extremely well on the Sixers. I don't know exactly what his contract is looking like, but I know it's about $5 million, $7 million, something pretty low and reasonable. Guy doesn't shoot. He's old. His knees are falling apart. But I think he kind of has that heart and that drive that might reinvigorate the team. You put him out there and he beats Ben Simmons in like the first game would be the best thing in the world for him. And Ben Simmons just starts getting hungry. He learns from the veteran D Rose, and maybe we get like one 40-burger or 50-burger from Derrick Rose out there in a game, and the Wells Fargo Center goes wild for it. I mean, I don't see how we lose on that one, and I think he is attainable. JJ Redick, I agree. I've kind of gone down here. I'd like to see him back. I kind of agree with Andrew on this one, but there's just no way that he's coming back for any kind of reasonable ask. The Pelicans,
they're going to keep they're just outside of contention. I mean, they're going to want to try to sneak in.
They are. I mean, Zion's coming back this week allegedly, but I don't believe that until he actually comes back. But they're okay giving up this year, and it'll end JJ Redick's streak of making the playoffs in his career. But they're not disassembling their team yet. They're going to be good. We're all excited to watch them, and that's pretty much all they are right now. They're not ready to blow it up, and it's pretty well known. I think JJ Redick even said, like, yeah, I'm comfortable here. I don't want to get traded. So yeah, Derrick Rose is my big one. I mean, looking Bogdanovich is a name that pops up, but I don't want him. I just don't. I don't think it's worth what we would have to give up for him. We would have to give up some kind of piece. I know Tobias Harris's contract is seeming like a nightmare, so maybe he would have to be involved or something. I don't really know how we would figure that out, but I don't think that's worth it. I think we stick with what we have here. We go to the buyout market, like Shane's been saying. Hopefully we can land a veteran. And maybe someone learns how to shoot at the All-Star break. Like, they take notes on the three-point contest. Like, can we hope for that one? Like,
I don't know. It's just hope for a late bloom like the Seth Curry. Like, he just kind of he just hung around the NBA and like took some 10-day contracts, and like 7 years later, he's all right. We just kind of need that. Like, what's Speedy Claxton up to these days?
He's placing his knees because they don't work anymore. Possibly,
like Larry Hughes. Like, what do you think he's doing?
Bring both the Splash Brothers back, or not the Splash, the Flight Brothers, whatever the fuck him and Allen Iverson.
The Flight Brothers, yeah. Aaron McKee, I mean, corner 3-ball, Temple U, bring his ass back.
Does Reggie Miller have a brother? Can we get him? Like, maybe like Cheryl Miller, she might be open. Like,
oh yeah, sure, I'll take anyone.
Yeah,
who cares?
So if you guys, let's round out this segment here, but let's do this. If you guys had to think of what kind of prototype do we need to pick up to be successful in the second half of the year? Start with you, Andrew. or prototypical player. So like you can name a player, an actual player name if he exists, or if it's just, we need to get a, 3-and-D or whatever kind of prototypical player.
I would say, as we said, like a shooter. And I think another guy, real quick, that I like is from the Wizards, Davis Bertans. I think he'd be a guy that fits in well too, as well. I think he's only making like $6 or $7 million, so I think that one would be that'd be realistic as well with the way they're going. But I think another thing, which kind of goes back to your Derrick Rose point, is I think a backup point guard is a need here, because I just don't think, unless if you start giving the minutes, like consistent minutes to Trey Burke or something, which I don't even think I believe in him to do, but I think you kind of see that in the lack of area when you try to bring in a backup point guard. And last night you have two different guys getting like 3 or 4 minutes and not stepping up big, and I think that kind of falls into the role of a need in that sense. But I think kind of in the guard position, I think would be your biggest area of need.
All right, Shane, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go with character Bonafide from NBA Street Volume 2. No, I'm just fucking around. No, I think the player of need that would truly put us over the top is a fuck you version of Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons seems so passive, and yet we see these flashes and moments, like we saw it in Game 2 against Brooklyn last year, where he, after kind of a lackluster Game 1 and obviously a surprise Game 1 with the result, he came out there, he put up 32 points, like 8 rebounds, 7 assists, something like that, and he was legitimately the best player on the floor. And I think that every single night that he steps on the basketball court, he has the ability to do that. It's just, does he have the desire and drive to do it? And like I always say, the best version of me, and I think it's the best version of everyone, is a fuck you version of yourself. So I want that version of Ben Simmons. He can shoot. It does not look pretty. I don't need it to look pretty. I just need it to hit the rim occasionally. And then I just need us to fill out all 3 phases of the rebounding areas. But that to me is, if not bona fide, because I don't know what he's up to these days, the fuck you version of Ben Simmons is 100% what's going to put this team over the top.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Derrick Rose is that fuck you version of Ben Simmons. It's just he doesn't move quite as fast. So let's oil up those knees, send Derrick Rose to Philadelphia, and get it going.
Derrick Rose is it's gonna be like a ghost leaving his body when he runs over the part of the court that he tore his ACL on. He's gonna be like, I'm done. Like, I can't play here anymore. I saw my NBA career end here. That's it. Like, he's not gonna come to Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's true. I kind of forgot about that.
I did not. I was there.
Was that the luckiest thing that ever happened to the Sixers? Just everyone on the Bulls dying and us advancing just out of default, kind of, and Andre Iguodala making a free throw.
2 free throws.
Right.
Yeah, man. I think that might have been, at least in the 76ers franchise of our lifetime. That's probably it, man. That, or not getting the ping pong balls to drop for Andrew Wiggins. The winless for Wiggins thing, that would have sucked.
That would have sucked, because he is not good.
He's not
good. Been watching Minnesota. Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I even thought about watching a Timberwolves game. It's largely because of Andrew Wiggins.
And because you don't like Robert Covington.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Rocco is a Rono, Shane. I'm going to keep hitting that line. And that will be the name of our first episode, goddammit, because I'm brilliant. All right, so let's stick with this light theme here a little bit and move on to some fun stuff. I know that seems to be our bread and butter, and we do a pretty good job of this. And, we hit the Sixers pretty hard tonight, but let's have a little fun here and talk about our boy Joel Embiid, crooked finger and all, landed a shoe deal, baby. Him and Under Armour designing the first Joel Embiid shoe. We're all going to be buying it. I don't care what it looks like. But Shane, what is the name of this shoe again? I forgot already.
It's UA Embiid 1.
UA Embiid 1. What a clever name. I bet Joel thought of that himself. So Joel Embiid is getting this shoe in the fall of next year. just in time for all, kids going back to school in the Philadelphia area to pick up a pair. So I know every year I buy my nephews shoes for Christmas. They will both be getting UA Embiid 1s next year, despite the fact that they want running shoes. So Colin and Dylan, if you're listening, I know you're not because you're not old enough and we have an explicit tag on this podcast, but you will be getting UA Embiid 1s next year for Christmas. So with this in mind, I was thinking it'd be pretty fun to talk about what the official shoe of the TJ is One of Us podcast is. It's not going to be the UA Embiid 1 unless it looks super dope because we're very picky with shoes here. But I'm going to kick it off to you, Shane. What do you think our official shoe should be?
All right, man. So I got it. We're a pro process podcast. We all lived through this, and we may have been the only three people in the Wells Fargo Center for several years. So I thought, what better than the retro version of the Jordan 10s that broke down in the middle of a basketball game, so much so that Michael Jordan was embarrassed enough to then issue an apology to one Tony Roten for it happening. What better than a failed shoe for a failed thus far process than that? So for me, I want those ugly ass animal print version of the throwback Jordan 10s, and they got to be signed by Tony Roten with an apology signature on the other side of it from Michael Jordan.
Hell yeah. That is definitely the shoe representing our show. I got to pull that picture out again. That was, I haven't heard the name Tony Roten in a while, although actually he pops up on Twitter every once in a while. I think I followed him back when he was
That's the guy.
Sixers.
That's the deadline acquisition. Just shoot.
Tony Roten. That's
Just
done. Get him a new pair of shoes.
No, you know what? Get him the
reinforcement.
same pair of shoes. Who cares?
Fuck it. That'll be his calling card. Yeah, we'll put him out there for 1 minute a night, and then he'll blow his ACL out. Yeah. No one has ever been as famous from blowing out a shoe as Tony Roten because he did it
and
first.
Zion, who did it with Barack Obama watching. He goes, "Did his shoe just explode?" Yes,
Tony
sir.
Roten is the Simpsons in this one. He did it first. The Sixers did it first. Shut up, Zion. We know that you're coming back this week, all right? We're not excited at all. Just kidding. Everyone is super excited to see Zion actually out there.
Very
I know
much
I'll
so.
be watching that.
I've always wanted to see what a middle linebacker looks like playing basketball.
Yeah, he does have the body of Bo Jackson out there. It is fucking crazy. All right, Andrew, have you been able to think of an option for the official shoe of the TJ is One of Us podcast?
I'm still under consideration for that. I've not been able to think of one yet, unfortunately. I'm really trying to just.
All right. So what we'll do is I'm not letting you off the hook because I take my shoes very seriously, Andrew. So next time you're on, we'll do a show this weekend. We're going to go over some shoe options here, and we'll come up with an option together if you don't have one at that point. All right?
Should have just went with the cast shoe, man. Joel Embiid for all the broken feet that he had and shit. Ben Simmons, broken foot. Brian Colangelo, foot up in his wife's ass. Who knows? You should have just had that. That would have minorly competed with my Tony Roten story.
That's a good
All
one.
right. So Andrew's shoe is the boot, the orthopedic shoe that gets strapped on to Joel Embiid. Or maybe just like one of those scooters where you put your leg on it and you wheel around. So my option for shoe is I keep going between two. One's kind of funny, the other one's not funny. So I'm going to present both here. As a coach, I think I would wear a low-top Jordan 11 on the sidelines. They look similar to the Concords a little bit, but, they're low-top. And it's similar to just like the Cool Dad. It's on the sideline, and he's like, yeah, I totally got these. These are like everyone else's shoes. They're low-top because they're cool, and they're giant. I wear a pair to the office all the time, and people always comment on them. And they look a little bit weird when you wear a button-down shirt, so that fits us as a show because we do things a little bit different here. And, so
you were the Robert Kraft of this podcast, asshat.
And the other way I was going to go on it, and this is because Shane does not think a grown man should wear gym sneakers with a pair of jeans, and I tend to agree with him on this point. Even though I just said I wear Jordans to the office all the time. It might not be the best look, and as I'm turning 29 this year, maybe when I enter my 30s, I'll grow up a little bit and stop wearing Jordans all the time. And it's the Chelsea boot, because what a better basketball shoe than the Chelsea boot. It's classic. You can't run around. You'll slip if you step on the blacktop, but you'll look good doing it, and Shane will approve of it, and he won't call you an embarrassment to the world.
I kind of dig it. I kind of dig that. It's not beating my Tony Roten. But
no, Tony Roten is by far the best one. Where that's the official shoe. So he and Andrew probably could have stayed quiet for a while there.
I don't know. I do kind of like the idea of the orthopedic shoe that is suspended in the air by the scooter that wheels you around. I thought that was pretty clever too.
I had this is a quick side check from the actual topic at hand, but I had my buddy Blake had a bunch of foot problems, and he could not get it healed. The doctor kept breaking and re-breaking his foot, and it was horrible. He had to wear these awful orthopedic shoes all the time, and they were bright white, and they were very chunky in a time when chunky shoes were not popular yet. So we would go to the bar, and he would be all dressed up, trying to hit on girls, and nothing looked funnier than tall, goofy-ass Blake wearing his orthopedic shoes trying to talk to, 21-year-old girls, being like, hey, what's up? And they look down at his shoes and be like, the fuck are those, old man? You
tell a lot about a man about his shoes.
Yeah, your ID says you're 24, but we all know that you're 500 right now because no one under the age of 40 wears orthopedic shoes. Except for maybe us as a TJ's one of those podcasts. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah. As far as shoes go, I mean, we're under thoughtful consideration between the blown out Tony Roten Jordan 11 or Jordan 10 or the orthopedic shoe. So it could go either way here. We'll come to a verdict in some offline meetings between the three of us, and that we're definitely not going to have, and we'll put a Twitter poll out or something for it. But yeah, we'll stick with this one. And with that in mind, we are getting to the end of the show. So we're going to return to our favorite bit of all time. That is Zaire's Stash, where if you haven't listened to us yet, or you have, need a little refresher, because it's been a while since we've hit this one, we take a player in the NBA, and we compare him to the seventh best player in the NBA, or is he the third best player at this point in the show, Shane? I'm not sure what we've last named him as here.
He is still the seventh best player in the NBA, but he is the G League MVP.
That's true. He actually is that. So, I mean, there's some validity to this. Suck it, any haters out there. But what we do is we compare a player in the NBA, someone who's popped up, coach, someone in the media, whomever, and we compare him to our boy Zaire Smith, because even though he may not be the actual seventh best player in the NBA, he is quite a fox out there, and he's keeping it smooth at all times. So this week, I'm going to kick it over to Andrew here and let him make the decision. Our player is a sleeping Zion in a T-shirt and a blazer on the sideline with a big old gold chain. I'm not sure if anyone has seen it. I'm sure you won't have if you're listening to the show, because it means you have a pulse and you like the NBA. So you definitely saw the most popular thing that happened yesterday. But Zion Williams was sitting on the sidelines at the Pels game, and he fell asleep. Homeboy was tired. I mean, he's been doing a lot of rehabbing and not a lot of playing, so he needed to catch a few Z's here on the sideline. He was looking pretty fresh aside from being asleep, though. So with that, I ask you, Andrew, is Zion Williams better looking than our boy Zaire Smith?
On this one, I it's one of the first times I'm going to pick him, but I'm going with our boy Zaire Smith on this one. I think falling asleep is one odd move for Zion there, and I am going with Smith on here.
Yeah, sleeping.
So are we the Fox News of podcasts?
Damn it.
For at least half of our show is meaningless shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, we got to have some hot chicks crossing their legs in there, too, and then we'll really be fine.
That is true. Bombshelling it.
Yeah, so take some notes from Andrew here, Zion. Falling asleep on the sidelines, not a good look. So we will keep following him, see if he can stay awake when he's actually out there on the court. And hopefully he's as exciting as we all expect him to be. Because we are all, this is a Pro Zion Williams podcast. We are excited to see him out there. We like the Pels. We got JJ Redick down there. So hopefully they can be as good as we expect to start the year. And with that, I'm going to kick it around the horn here a little bit. Let's all give some parting words for the first show of 2020. And keep in mind, Zaire Smith is undefeated in 2020 now. So points for him, points for us for bringing it up. But Andrew, you got any closing takes for me here?
Honestly, let's hope our boy can get called up soon. I think at this point it's worth a shot for him to get called up and see what he can do with the mixture of this lineup.
Yeah.
You don't want Mariel Shayok coming up, man? Come on, we're way too handsome of a team. We need to bring. That is true. How funny that would be! A hell of a competition now. There's a lot of goofy ass looking NBA players right now. I think we're gonna have to start the show with the ugly Mariel Shayok, the Tyrone Hill Award, and then we're gonna have to kick it off to the end for our typical Zaire stash. But I like that.
We'll definitely kick that one around and kick off a show with that as well. All right, Shane, some closing takes on the Sixers here. You got anything for me?
So I think the number one thing, and this is what's most concerning to me, is did you guys see the video of Joel Embiid getting off the plane and everything and going to the Under Armour headquarters to whatever?
I did not.
You guys didn't see it? All right. It's weird to me. Like, he gets off the plane and he walks, and on his left hand, a splint. And then the camera changes angle. On the left hand, there is no splint. And then at a different part, it's a different colored splint. And then at a different part, the splint's fucking gone again. So I just want to know if the injury's fake. That's all. I just want to know if they were like, hey, Joe, pop your finger out of place for us. We're going to give you a couple weeks off so you're fresh for the playoffs. That's what I want to know. Conspiracy theory Shane right now says, I don't really know if Joe's that hurt.
Wow. What a conspiracy theory. I mean, we really did just go all Fox News in the last 10 minutes here. Good God. I mean,
I'll do one again.
The Democrats are burning down the country. Yeah, I mean, Joel Embiid, is he hurt? Wow. I'm going to take us out here with that thought in mind. You're going to have to come back next week to see if Joel Embiid actually is hurt or if there's a real conspiracy theory against him playing for the next couple weeks. This was Brett Brown's antics to get the team bonding together. So
Nice.
Maybe it was a genius move. Maybe Shane's crazy. Who knows? But thanks for joining us here this week on TJ's One of Us. We are getting back to 2 shows a week, so I promise that to you guys moving forward. We're excited to start the new year and to start our new brand. So why don't you go ahead and give us a follow. Let's post all our own individual Twitters before we have the show Twitter out, which I promise will be done by the end of the week. But I am at SP Novik. Andrew, what's your handle for the people?
I am AJ_Santangelo.
Okay. And Shane, why don't you hit him with that as well?
Tony Roten's shoe. No, I'm at Shane_Mead.
All right. Well, this was a great show. Thanks for joining me, boys. We got plenty more coming for this year, and we're all excited for it. And as always, go Sixers.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sundays through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.